when I became a deputy chief, I got very much into problem-oriented policing. And I actually went to Minnesota and visited Herman Goldstein, who wrote the first book on it. He was a professor at the University of Wisconsin, in Madison. And I became a real disciple of what he was talking about. And I read a number of books, like Beyond 911, and I can't remember, about 5 or 6 books. And I really got thinking, and even then, it was hard to get guys out of their car. And we didn't have school resource officers back there. And this is a problem in elementary or high school. Get out of the, I got with the school superintendent. Is it okay if the guys get out? The school superintendent, if they go there at lunchtime, I'll tell them to give these guys a lunch. Let them see a cop. Yeah. And, when somebody sees a cop, they recognize, well, there's, this isn't free, this isn't a no-go zone. And I think often at schools and colleges, they get like that. So, it was very hard sometimes to get these guys to move. And one of my biggest problems when I was a deputy chief was some of the sergeants, the hardcore sergeants. I look at it as kind of like a doctor might. I diagnose the problem and figure out how to solve it. And you don't go right to surgery. So you got a problem in this neighborhood or at this school or whatever, but you don't have the information to make an arrest. Figure out some other way to make it stop. And maybe that's just by them seeing you, Maybe that's just by letting people know there is a problem and you're aware of it and you're working on it.
Yeah.
Because we have a tendency, I think, as the cops, is everybody wants to make an arrest. So until I got enough information to make an arrest, my goal is I want the crime rate to go down. If the crime rate can go down without arrest, wonderful. And the system is set up back asswards. Because you can have 2 beats, right? They're exactly the same. Exactly the same amount of people, same kind of crowd. And in group A, you got a very aggressive patrolman who's making a lot of arrests. But the crime rate either static or still doesn't affect the crime rate. In B, you got a deputy who's making arrests, because I don't say don't make arrests, but he's also involved in lowering the crime rate. He's also involved in working with citizens or whatever it takes, walking through whatever it is that lets people know the cops are, and the crime rate goes down. In our system, this is a guy more likely to get promoted, because we don't necessarily look at the crime rate. We look at who's making the arrest, who's proactive and stuff. Well, proactive doesn't mean making arrests. Proactive means you're affecting the rate of crime and the atmosphere of that neighborhood or business, wherever it is. I think I was very successful in several areas of getting guys to do that. And it was really surprising to me. The older sergeants and captains were easier to work with than the younger ones. Because they were still more into the criminal justice system. The only way we solve problems is through the system. That's crap. And I think the first light that went on with me with that was talking with Herman Goldstein when I visited him in Wisconsin. Sitting there talking with him, and I got to spend almost 4 hours with him. And he said, Deputy Chief Jim, let's say I can make you the smartest, most knowledgeable policeman in the country. And you can go back to San Bernardino County, and you can get all these guys that work for you, and you can give them all this information. You can bring them up to the same level, and they can go out tomorrow and solve every crime and arrest everybody. What do you think is going to happen to the crime rate? And I says, I know this is a trick question, but I know the answer you're looking for. The crime rate's going to go down. He said, probably not, because the system can't handle what's really going on out there. There aren't enough prosecutors, there aren't enough defense attorneys, there aren't enough courtrooms, and there's not enough room in the jail. So you've got to figure out some other ways. And he was absolutely right, because we were having to cite people out because our jails were too crowded. And in talking with him, I figured the worst thing you can do if you always cite out the newbies or the misdemeanor people, and even some felonies that are low level, and you keep the hardcore. And when you cite out the misdemeanors, in the kid's first arrest and stuff, what are you telling them? What you did's no big deal. I mean, you just had to go to the jail. Now you can walk the street and everybody, hey, I was at the jail. A lot of them get esteemed.
Yeah.
So you've got to figure out some other ways to handle this. And I worked a lot with citizens just simply taking, well, I had a complaint of prostitutes in a certain area in Fontana, and one of my favorite Italian markets was there. Joe Bono owned it, and so he was having trouble with his customer because the motel across the street was, an active prostitution area. Well, I talked to the vice narcotics guys, and they have to go through their system, and so I worked with one of the local sergeants here, and so here's what we did on that. We're going to get a hold of the manager and the owner and tell them about abatements. If we know crime's going on in your place, and we can take steps. But we're also going to take some photographs and stuff. Don't worry about arrests. And I got the people in the market to cooperate. When you see a car there goes into a motel room with a young woman or a woman, and then comes out, and they're in there 22 and a half minutes, what do you go to? Take a picture, get their license number. So then we find out on the license number, this is insurance agent so-and-so has an office downtown. So now I send a detective over there. And all we do is, hey, we know you were on such a time and date or in this place. We've been investigating prostitution. Did you see or hear anything? Well, you're not accusing him of anything. Do you think he goes back?
No.
Yes. We put them out of business.
Wow.
And I never realized it. I did kind of the same thing when I was a deputy in Fontana. We had this one bar, I can't remember the name of it, and that's where guys went to hook up with prostitutes, and they went down the street quite a ways to a motel. And if I wasn't busy, I'd just sit and watch, and I'd see a gal leaving her car, and then I would just pull up into the parking lot. And of course, the guy leaves. And the prostitutes knew me. Fair out, you know how much that cost me?
Yeah.
Well, there was no way as a patrolman I'm going to make a prostitution arrest, but I thought, and I kind of did it as a lurk.
Yeah.
I kind of did. I did some of that. So-and-so's dealing drugs, right? And there's a lot of drugs there. The narcotics guys can't get on it. Pull up on their lawn right in front of their house with a red lights and siren and listen to, and you know what happens? The toilet gets flushed. I had a guy one time tell me that I did that after arresting him later, and I don't know how he could have done it. He told me I flushed 28 kilos of marijuana.
28 kilos.
Yeah, I'm thinking I wasn't there that long,
Yeah, that's a lot of dope to be flushing down the toilet.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't go down fast.